The world we know today, with its intricate web of interconnected economies, cultures, and ideas, did not emerge overnight. It was forged through centuries of movement, exchange, and transformation. Long before the internet, airplanes, or multinational corporations, there was a moment in history when disparate regions of the globe began to merge into a single system. And at the center of this unprecedented integration stood the Mongols. Their rise was not just a military phenomenon, but the spark for a new era that changed the course of human history forever. The Mongols, emerging from the windswept steppes of Central Asia, were a people hardened by survival in some of the most unforgiving landscapes on Earth. Their leader, Genghis Khan, united fractious tribes into a formidable force with a singular purpose: conquest. But what they built was far more than an empire of war. It was a vast network that reshaped economies, cultures, and societies on a global scale. By the time of Genghis Khan's death in 1227, the Mongol Empire stretched from the Pacific Ocean to the heart of Europe, creating a level of interconnectedness the world had never seen before. Their first and perhaps most significant contribution to globalization was the unification of a fragmented world. The Mongols brought together vast and diverse territories under a single administrative framework. Regions that had previously been isolated by geographical and political barriers were now part of a cohesive system. This unity enabled the movement of goods, people, and ideas on an unprecedented scale. For the first time, merchants could travel thousands of miles without the constant threat of banditry or political turmoil. Central to this transformation was the revival of the Silk Road. This ancient trade route, once a lifeline for commerce between East and West, had fallen into disrepair due to instability and conflict. The Mongols, with their iron-fisted rule, revitalized it. They established security, built infrastructure, and encouraged trade, turning the Silk Road into a bustling network of exchange. Caravans laden with silk, spices, porcelain, and other treasures traversed its length, connecting the markets of China, Persia, the Middle East, and Europe. But these caravans carried more than just goods. They carried ideas, technologies, and cultures, weaving the fabric of a more interconnected world. Under Mongol rule, the exchange of knowledge reached new heights. The Mongols were not merely conquerors. They were facilitators of dialogue and innovation. They brought together scholars, artisans, and thinkers from across their empire, creating a melting pot of ideas. Chinese inventions like paper money, gunpowder, and the compass found their way westward, transforming European economies and warfare. At the same time, Islamic advancements in medicine, mathematics, and astronomy enriched Chinese and European intellectual traditions. These exchanges were not accidental. The Mongols actively sought out talent and knowledge, integrating them into their empire to strengthen its foundations. Their governance was another factor in their global impact. The Mongols implemented the Yasa, a universal legal code that maintained order across their diverse territories. This code provided a sense of stability and predictability that encouraged trade and cooperation. They also established the Yam, a sophisticated courier system that allowed for rapid communication across vast distances. This network not only enhanced administrative efficiency, but also facilitated the exchange of ideas and innovations, creating a sense of unity within their sprawling empire. Religious tolerance was a hallmark of Mongol rule. Unlike many empires that sought to impose their beliefs on conquered peoples, the Mongols allowed a remarkable degree of religious freedom. Christianity, Islam, Buddhism, and other faiths coexisted within their territories. This openness fostered intellectual and theological exchanges that enriched all parties involved. However, the Mongols' role in globalization was not without its darker aspects. As they connected the world, they also facilitated the spread of disease. The Black Death, one of the most devastating pandemics in human history, traveled along the very trade routes they had revitalized. From Asia to Europe, the plague left a trail of death and despair. Yet even in this tragedy, there were unintended consequences that reshaped societies. The social and economic upheavals caused by the plague led to significant changes in Europe, including labor reforms and the weakening of feudal systems, paving the way for the Renaissance and the modern era. The geopolitical landscape also underwent profound changes under Mongol influence. By toppling established kingdoms and empires, the Mongols created a power vacuum that allowed new players to rise. The collapse of the Abbasid Caliphate in Baghdad, the weakening of the Song dynasty in China, and the disruption of Eastern European kingdoms set the stage for the emergence of new powers like the Ottoman Empire, the Ming dynasty, and later, the European colonial empires. The Mongols did not just reshape borders, they reshaped the very dynamics of power. Their mastery of warfare and diplomacy also contributed to their global legacy. The Mongols were not only brutal warriors, but also shrewd diplomats. They forged alliances, established treaties, and maintained relationships with distant lands. Their envoys traveled to the courts of Europe, the Middle East, and beyond, building connections that would endure long after the empire's decline. These diplomatic efforts laid the groundwork for the more interconnected world that was to come. Even as the Mongol Empire fragmented in the late 14th century, its impact endured. The trade networks they had established continued to thrive, and the cultural exchanges they had facilitated left an indelible mark on history. The age of exploration, which began in the 15th century, owes much to the Mongols. Inspired by accounts of travelers like Marco Polo, who had journeyed through Mongol lands, European explorers set out to find new routes to the east. These voyages would lead to the discovery of the Americas and the birth of a truly globalized world. The story of the Mongols is a reminder of the transformative power of connectivity. They demonstrated that even the most disparate regions and cultures could be linked, that trade and dialogue could bridge divides, and that the exchange of ideas could spark innovation and progress. Their empire was not just a conquest, it was a crucible in which the modern world was forged. It was a place where East met West, and the seeds of globalization were sown. Today, as we navigate the complexities of our interconnected world, the echoes of the Mongols' legacy are unmistakable. The global trade networks, the cultural exchanges, the technological innovations, all these can trace their roots back to that era of Mongol dominance. But their story also serves as a cautionary tale. The same networks that facilitated progress also spread disease and destruction. The same unity that fostered collaboration also brought conflict and exploitation. Yet, despite their contradictions, the Mongols remind us of a fundamental truth. Humanity is stronger when it is connected. The barriers they tore down have been rebuilt many times over, in different forms and for different reasons. But the spirit of their empire, that drive to connect, to exchange, to grow, remains a part of us. It is a legacy that transcends time, a testament to the power of unity in the face of division. As we reflect on their story, we see more than the rise and fall of an empire. We see the birth of a new world, one where the boundaries between nations and cultures began to blur, where the flow of goods, ideas, and people began to shape the course of history. The Mongols did not set out to create globalization, but in their quest for conquest, they laid its foundations. They showed us that the world is not as vast as it seems, that its people are not as different as they appear, and that the connections we forge can change everything. So, the next time we marvel at the wonders of globalization, the diversity of our cultures, the reach of our technologies, the interdependence of our economies, let us remember the Mongols. Let us remember the nomads who emerged from the steppes and changed the world, not just with their swords, but with their vision. Let us remember the empire that gave birth to a global age and taught us that no matter how far apart we may seem, we are all part of the same story.